Hi, Joe.
Hi, James. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, good, thank you. Yep.
So when it comes to visual effects, you've had your hands in almost everything. Like you've got an amazing library of movies you've worked on.
I've been pretty lucky. Yeah, yeah,
Very long time.
yeah.
So let me start by introducing who I am, so you can give an
Mm-hmm.
idea why am I even here.
Okay.
Why am I even here?
Why are you here, James?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't usually do interviews.
Yeah.
I'm not a journalist or anything.
Mhm.
I'm a YouTube content creator. But
Uh-huh.
before that, I was actually a engineer. And I
Mhm.
actually worked as a product developer at WETA Digital. So I
Okay.
actually worked on some of
Right.
the big projectors that
Nice, okay.
push Hollywood forward for
Cool.
tech like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of funny how I've kind of made this kind of loop in my career,
Yeah.
and now I'm producing videos and content. And what I
Mhm.
do on YouTube is I run a channel called the Hacksmith,
Uh-huh.
and our main series is called Make It Real,
Okay.
where we try and take fictional ideas from comics, movies, or video games and try and make a real working prototype.
Okay.
So, unlike using CGI,
Yeah.
we'll try and take something that we saw in a movie, which might be CGI,
Yeah.
and see, is it possible to actually make a real working version?
Okay.
Because a lot of the time the technology is there,
Yeah.
it's just not necessarily commercially viable or
Yeah.
practical in any way.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's a bit of a explanation of what I
All right.
do.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
But this entire trip's been amazing, seeing the behind the scenes of how these movies come together and the
Yeah.
technology that's to allow us to do these things.
Mhm.
What's your favorite part about being able to use this technology to tell a story in a way that because you've been working on movies for decades now,
Mhm.
so you've seen the rise and fall of all these technologies.
Mhm.
So how do you think that's kind of changed the landscape for movie making?
Well, it's become more of a holistic approach. Like we can take on a lot of different aspects of filmmaking that we couldn't do before. Like there might have been a time when you were just trying to do a set extension or you were just trying to blow something up. Even going back to the like days of doing Gollum, just doing that one character was really difficult.
Yeah.
But now we've developed this platform where wherever the story needs to go, we can move in that direction. So we can do hundreds of apes now. We can help extend the environment that's there. We can create a completely digital environment for them if that's what they need to set the scene in. So it's that idea that we've got worked heavily on the foundations so that when a filmmaker comes to us, we can kind of take it wherever the story needs to go.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, your role in movies, how has that changed over the past however many years? Like, what did you start doing in movies to what you're doing now?
Well, early on, the first thing I did for a film was I got to blow up a planet for Star Trek VI, the explosion at the beginning. So that for me was great fun and a great introduction. Then I went on and did Jurassic Park because I was really interested in how you make things look realistic. So what I really concentrated on is how do you make the dinosaurs look realistic and how do you make them look like you photographed them in a realistic way. And that just got me interested in, well, what could you do if you were working with characters, not just creatures? So when I had the chance to work with Gollum, that I took it because he's such a great character from the books, and wanted to see what you could do to make that come alive. And so to me, that's where I've really kind of focused is on the characters, because so much has to go into it to make it real. Like the movements have to be exactly right, and the way they look has to be exactly right, and the way the light in their eyes works, and all the fur has to be correct. Like none of it cannot work because if any aspect of it falls short, the whole thing unravels. You destroy your sense of being in the moment when you're watching the film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I really like that, because everything has to work to make those scenes come alive.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Andy Serkis, phenomenal. But it's kind of cool because years ago that wasn't even a role, but now being a mocap actor is actually like it's a big thing now.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah.
His flexibility in like all these roles he's played is incredible. Like Caesar, the gap between being an ape and a human, like it was so amazing, like how that came to life.
Yeah.
And really got you involved with character in a way that you just couldn't have done any other way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Andy was really great at understanding how apes behave, and in a way kind of intuiting how they think, and because they're very social animals. They live in groups like we do, and taking the nuggets of that and thinking about how you apply that to a character like Caesar in a way that will make him believable and engaging to audiences. So yeah, Andy's really the heart and soul of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll actually be interviewing him next Monday in London.
Oh,
So
fantastic! Great. Okay.
Looking forward to meeting him.
Yeah.
What do you think about the future of VR when it comes to movies like this?
Well, I mean, VR uses a lot of the same tools and techniques that we use, because if you're creating a world using computer graphics, it's very similar to what we're doing here. There's a constraint in that it's real time, so there's, you can't always do the really detailed kind of work that we do when creating a film. But I think the challenge for VR artists is going to be the storytelling aspect of it. Filmmaking is dependent on a point of view and timing. There's camera angle and there's cuts that allow you to move the story along.
Yep.
What does that mean when you're in a completely immersive environment? I think that's the part where it gets interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be a complete paradigm shift for that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited to see where that goes, because I think it'll really, that in-depth. Like, do you think Avatar is moving that way at all, or do you know?
Avatar will be first and foremost about the films.
Yeah.
That's the important
Yeah.
aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
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 What's your favorite film that you worked on?
Oh, there's been so many, but I have to say that because you mentioned Avatar, the great thing about Avatar is it goes back to what I was saying before. When we did Avatar, we had to really think about the world holistically, not just doing pieces that fit into what was photographed. And so that was the first film where we basically rebuilt the foundations of what we do in computer graphics, and tried to lay out a holistic approach that allows you to create not only a whole planet, but anything that inhabits that planet. So that was kind of a breakthrough there. And look, it set the stage for us being able to do things like Apes, because even though in Apes we focused, initially on just one and then several performers for the Apes characters, as the films went on, we took on more and more of that role of integrating it into the landscape, especially in the third film. I mean, Matt Reeves and Michael Cera and photographed some beautiful wide vistas, and we needed to make our apes exactly be a part of that, and that idea that you can blend between the two worlds and not care about which one is real and which one is not. It's real for your experience in the movie. That's really what we're after.
Yeah, I remember in the opening presentation, the waterfall scene. Would have had no idea that wasn't a real waterfall, but it's absolutely incredible. And hearing about how they went back and got shots of a waterfall to see when there's less water flowing, the structure underneath that caused the flow, the real-time physics that we now have in computer software to be able to simulate stuff like that is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's amazing how that technology is continuing to advance, and the film industry is continuing to advance too. So it's kind of funny, because it should be getting easier, but because we keep pushing the envelope even farther and farther, it's still an absolute insane amount of work.
Exactly. There's just the more you can do, the more you want to do, and the more you put into the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see, are we gonna hit a point where technology's so good that it's easy to turn, say, this room into a completely digital environment, simple.
Simple isn't really the word. You think about it more in terms of the story and where do you need to put that effort when you're making the film. If you're going to be in a room like this and you've got a lot of actors, you're going to set it up like you would traditionally shoot a film and do it that way. But for example, if you're in Caesar's hidden lair, at the beginning of the film behind the waterfall, not only does a location like that not exist, but because all the action that takes place in it, or most of it, is being inhabited by apes who will be digital characters, it's easier to do the integration in a more realistic fashion if you create the environment as well as the characters. So you go fully digital with an environment like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell me what your future projects are? Are you starting anything right now? Or?
Well, our next one up is Alita: Battle Angel with Robert Rodriguez directing.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be out next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're in post-production now, or almost?
We're done shooting, yes, and it's basically in our court right now.
Okay, wow. So you must be busy.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the
time
out of your day to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you, James. Glad you could make the trip.